I was very lucky to have been trained and taught this by some of the top flexibility experts in Arizona. I got a chance to train with some of the Phoenix Coyotes and professional golfers on the PGA Tour, and I put in my hours doing one-on-one stretching to gain range of motion and flexibility in athletes. This was a specialty of mine. This was something that I was very proud of, and I hope you enjoy it. This video is 15 years old, guys. There's a lot of really great stuff in this. I think the real juicy, actionable steps are in part 2. But a really good foundation can be laid and understanding by watching this video first. This gives you all the primers, and I might make another one that's more updated with some of the newer stuff that I do with the PNF and the relaxation and tension.
Coach Mark here with you today. Wanted to talk to you about something that I've been requested to speak on, which is hip mobility and flexibility. There's a couple things in my mind that are really important when it comes to gaining greater range of motion. Number one is just like working out. If you have a set goal that you wish to attain, you have to be diligent in its practice. Meaning, if you have a set flexibility range and you're trying to increase that flexibility range, you need to be diligent about doing exercises that are going to get you to your goal. Once you're at your goal, you can do what's called a maintenance program, which will allow you to just maintain where you're at. And that should be about just once a week. But if you're trying to attain a goal, especially when it comes to stretching or flexibility, it's important that you do it twice a day. Now, there's going to be a few different cuts on this because I've got a lot of information to share with you. The first one that I want to go over again, stretching twice a day minimum if you're trying to get a goal. Once in the morning, when you first wake up, a nice light stretch is important. And once before you go to bed. It'll also help you sleep better at night. There's something that I want to discuss also known as the kinetic chain, and this is important to know for your own education as well as being able to put together a really good stretching program for yourself. Something I wanted to share with you is it's called the kinetic chain. And put simply is if I were to injure my ankle down further on the kinetic chain, that means further away from my core, what will happen is, especially as I'm walking, I'll take up slack for this ankle into this knee. I don't know about you guys, but I've had pains in my feet before, and over time what will happen is, as I'm taking up slack from this particular limb, this over here will start to ache. And if it persists, if the problem continues, all of a sudden this hip. So it kind of zigzags up what's known as the kinetic chain. Why is this important? Well, your muscles overlap in certain ways. I find that for myself, it's best to start, if you have any issues with your calves, to start with the calves, hamstrings, quads, hip function. That means going up the kinetic chain seems to work a lot better by the way that your muscles overlap. Another thing that I wanted to go over is different styles of stretching. For me personally, what feels right is to start in the butterfly position. Put simply, butterfly is this. Make sure that your heels tucked in super close and you smell your feet. The longer the better. I tell my students that are younger, especially if they're doing homework, they can do it in this position. Normal commercials last about 2 minutes, 2 seconds. The longer you can hold your stretch, the better off you're going to be. So that's the length of time. If you can hold it in 2 minutes, that's decent. That's actually really good. I encourage people to hold it as long as they can. The next one that I like to pop into from here is to go right into a hamstring. Now again, I told you that typically I'll go from calf up, and I'll show you that program in just a few minutes. Right now, I think it's important to go over what my personal flavor is. When I turn my hips, I turn towards my belly button is actually at my knee. I could show off and go all the way down, but that's not the point. It's not what I'm trying to do. I can actually get a good stretch just by going this much. Another detail that I want to go over in this particular stretch is make sure you don't put your hand on the patella. You're not trying, or on your kneecap. You're not trying to actually move your kneecap. What you're going to do is put it right above where the quad is and rotate inward, and you'll notice that there's a little bit bonus stretch there. That's important. Holding that for a long time, switching, those are good starters. Now we'll go ahead and start getting into the actual program that I like to use to gain really good flexibility. To start off with the stretching, again, I like to hit the calves, and there's a couple angles to the calf that I think are really important to note. Just like your muscles are usually spread out in a fan type motion, it's also good to get full range of motion in your stretches. What I mean by this is, if you can see my feet position, I'm going to stand up so you guys can see my feet. You have this position, and this position. All need to be noted when you're going through your calf stretching. And I'll go over partner stretching at some point, because with the calves are a very finicky and interesting muscle group when you get into it. But simply, one of the better calf stretches that I've come across is level 1. Here, here, here. Level 2, middle. This one comes right behind, and just relaxing. Just really relaxing into your stretch makes a huge difference. The more you can relax, the more those muscle fibers will loosen up. Now, how does that affect? It affects greatly. Most people don't realize that they need to stretch the calf in order to get the insertion to the hamstring even deeper. And there's 2 different ways to get the hamstring. You have your hamstring, and then you have the belly of the hamstring. So, again, hamstring, I enjoy this stretch. Belly of the hamstring, different animal, right here. Some of you like to use your martial arts belt to do so, that's fine. Just bending it straight this way and extending will hit what's known as the belly of the hamstring. Again, the longer you can hold this, the better off you'll be.